Today, we want to cover something that is a huge topic for a lot of moms and really a lot of people in general, but especially moms, of keeping your whole identity trapped in I'm only just a mom,
hmm
right? So when you get stuck in this side of I'm just a mom, it means everything else you do also gets undervalued as well. And one of the biggest things you undervalue is your voice.
hmm
And when it comes to your voice, if you really think about it, why do you hate your voice so much? Where people, when you were growing up, oh, you shouldn't talk or only speak when spoken to, or you listen to a recording of your voice and say, I hate my voice. And so many different factors saying, why do I really hate my voice? Now, if you really take the time to think about it, who are the people that get paid the most in life and have the best relationships? What are they doing? They're using their voice. So we want to talk a little bit about the power of your voice and why you need to take that back versus letting other people claim it for you. So here's what happened. When you get stuck in the mindset of, I'm only just a mom, that's the only place my voice matters, what happens and how do you feel when you feel like what you're doing as a mom is being undervalued? When you feel like maybe your kids aren't treating you a certain way you should be, or your boyfriend or your husband, your significant other, what do? How does that chip away with your self-worth and how you feel about yourself? Has there been times where you can think of maybe feeling taken granted for granted and
Oh, yeah,
your
for
voice?
sure. So, most women, and especially moms and wives, tend to feel undervalued. They tend to feel like, I'm doing all these things for my family because I am the mom. So, whether you're in charge of, the cooking, the cleaning, the taking the kids to school, to picking them back up, to taking them to extracurricular activities, to getting back home, to making some dinner, to going over homework. So we have all these different hats. And if we're only looking at ourselves from the mom perspective and everybody's life, or, then what happens? Like you said. So, of course, when you see that maybe you're asking your kids to do something and they're not listening, or your husband or your partner is basically undervaluing everything that you do for them, and it's not feeling like anybody is appreciating you, then it makes you feel like, okay, is it because I'm not really worth the things that I think I'm worth? And really, it's because sometimes we don't put enough emphasis on our own self-worth. And when those things happen, we start questioning. Do other people really see my value? Am I even important? And I mean, that's something that a lot of women deal with, myself included. Like, everybody can look from the outside in and say, oh, the situation is perfect. She must feel like the most loved person in the world. And there's times where your hands are so full that it feels like all the things that you're doing are not really being appreciated. So at that point, you got to look at yourself and say, like, what are the things that I'm okay with when it comes to people are not going to always say thank you. People, like my kids, are not always going to do everything I tell them to do. My husband is not always going to applaud me or say thank you when I bring them a plate of food or I do their laundry or all the extra things I get done. But you having that pride in yourself as the woman and the mom that you are, to say, I know I'm a good mom. I'm doing everything that I can do. And even if there's something that you're like, I know that I'm lacking in this area, look at all the other hats that you're actually wearing and give yourself some grace.
And here's the thing, here's the key important part of what she just said. The power of your own self-worth. When you talk about self-worth, what does that mean? It's coming from yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not coming from anything external. So it's easy to blame everybody else. Well, it's because this person didn't give me applause or because of this situation. But it's all coming from you. It's how you look at the
Mm-hmm.
situation to how you're going to feel, and then you're going to put that into the world. So you got to start taking back your own self-worth, not based on everybody else's validation, because honestly, they don't matter.
No.
It's not their validation. Because when you feel that way about yourself, the reason why we talk about all these mindset related things is because when you feel this way about yourself, it affects your health. That could be physically, that could be mentally, that could be emotionally, it could be all three at the same time, it could be spiritually, and so many other factors that there's no way you can be the best version of yourself. There's no way you can get out of the mindset of only just surviving and moving to thriving where you're not valuing yourself, because you also teach others how to treat you.
Hmm.
So if you're not even valuing yourself, why should they?
Yeah,
If
and
you're not even holding your standards, why should your
you can
kids?
so easily start creating resentment with the closest people
Mm-hmm.
in your life because you're not valuing everything that you are doing. You're not having that self-worth because I'm telling you, people are not always going to see it and they're not always going to appreciate it the way you want them to appreciate it.
Yep.
So that's super important because I've seen time and time again how moms get lost in that mom identity.
Yep.
And they don't have anything that makes them, excited to get up in the morning and say, I'm something other than, a mom
Yep.
or a housewife or all these different things. And, they even say that women or moms that stay at home and they're full stay at home moms have even harder jobs than the people that go out into the real world
A lot of
because
different hats.
you're wearing all the hats consistently. You don't get a break from it. So,
And what makes this even harder on top of it is, if you're not valuing yourself and you're feeling taken for granted, sometimes even the people around you that may not be taken for granted, but it's how you feel, do you think you're going to value what they're doing right now? So
no.
sometimes it can create also self-sabotage
Hmm.
to take you out of situations, to isolate yourself away from the people that would impact your life and make your life the best. It takes you away from that. And now you see this decline more and more and more. And you can easily say, it was this person's fault. But really, it all started from inside of here.
Yeah,
Out
and
loud.
we're gonna talk, maybe not today, but we're gonna talk about, how you end up in the pit, how you end up at the lowest of the lowest that you've ever been. And there's levels to that. And one of the first levels is devaluing yourself. So there's different, and it's crazy, the science of it. But a lot of times people don't catch themselves in these phases of hitting the pit. And it's something that when I learned what that was really all about, and that all of us, you create your peak and you create your pit.
And there's going to be multiple of them that come through your life. But the big part of that is being aware. Because without being aware of what's going on, being aware of a situation, you can't make any changes. You can't get any transformation without being aware of it 1st
Mm-hmm.
at all. Like, let's say you're a person that always self-sabotage. If you're not aware that you're self-sabotaging, how do you, like, there's no way you can say, oh, wow, I'm doing that again. And if you can't say that and reflect to yourself that, you can't make any change to get better. You're going to immediately put all the blame externally. So we have to be honest with ourselves. And unfortunately, that's very uncomfortable to be honest with ourselves because nobody wants to say, oh, I messed up or I didn't do that right. But that's where the growth actually really starts to happen. So all of this makes you undervalue your voice, and your voice is where your whole life changes. When you're having relationships with others, this could be people at work, this could be a partner. If you're not using your communication properly by using your voice, you're going to sabotage all those relationships. And there's opportunities right in front of you right now that you can't take advantage of because of not using this properly.
Yeah, and your voice is really part of your brand. It's part of who you are portraying, not only from what's really inside, but sometimes we put up these guards and we start putting out something that's really not what we want to put out. So I've seen, in many cases how, people speak negatively on themselves or, use profanity or I'm not saying that it doesn't ever happen and that it can't slip, but just catching yourself because what you put out into the world is really a reflection of what you have going on the inside. So I think that it's pretty curious, to just dive deeper on that. And also, a lot of us, we have a lot to say. We have a lot of experiences that can relate to other women and other moms. And sometimes we have great ideas and we have things that, there's tips that we have, you know, come across that could help somebody else. Or there's situations that you don't realize that other people need help in
Yeah,
that
but
same
it's
area.
all sitting up here versus coming through here,
Hmm.
where you're undervaluing. Do people really want to hear that? Do people really? But what the way to really frame that in your mind is not who can I help, more like if I'm right here where I'm at right now, could I have helped myself 2 years ago? Could I have helped myself a year ago? And those are your people to help. Help that version of yourself from a year ago. help that version of yourself from 2 years ago. You're not coming from a place of, I got it all figured out. You're coming from a place of where you're at now. And then as you're growing, let's say 2 years in the future, you're able to help that version of yourself from a year
Yeah.
ago. So as you grow, your people keep growing. As you grow, they grow more because you keep funneling it down. You should never keep it all to yourself. So don't look at it as like, I don't know everything about that field. I don't know everything about that skill. Start from the place you're at right now and let the people grow with you. Right? So use this voice. The only way you're gonna get better and better at it is by practicing it over and over and over. But if you don't get really good at mastering your voice, getting really good at mastering your communication skills, then your life is going to remain the same. You're never going to really live life to the fullest if you don't use this properly. When you think about the people that make the most money and the most impact in the world, it's the people that are using their voice the best. This could be singers. This could be politicians. This could be public speakers. Like, if you think about it, it's all coming from your voice. So don't let people get you in that trap of, wow, my voice sounds really terrible. Like, as soon as you hear, a lot of people cringe as soon as they hear their voice. So if you cringe as soon as you hear your voice, what's going to make you want to speak? Immediately you're looking at like other people are going to hear that when they hear my voice. And that's not how it is at all.
Yeah, it's crazy, like this perspective, because maybe about 3 years ago, that's exactly how I felt. And just switching it and getting myself to a place where I'm okay with being uncomfortable. Like, this is not something that I'm used to. And I remember you telling me from the very start, like, your voice is so powerful. And, I was like, okay, that's a nice compliment. But until I started to use it was when I realized, like, wow, this really does have power.
I'm telling you, I kid you not, I can see all these thoughts and things going through her head in different environments. And I can just see her just wanting to say it. Like, you can just see it, like, just boiling to the surface, like a little teapot, like, ready to just start, right? And then I'm like, just raise your hand, just speak. And it took her a little second, but once she did it, I'm kid you not, in every scenario, as soon as she spoke, the vibe of everybody else in the room changed. And you'll notice even the other people were speaking up like, I didn't really plan on speaking, but when she was that vulnerable and she shared this, I had no choice but to speak. I'm like, use that more. Every single time people have direct impact and change from you using your voice. And that same thing applies to you. Do not undervalue your voice. It's way more powerful than you think. Start using it more. The more you use it, the better you'll get and the more you'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
On that note, that's the end of the video, New Birth Fitness family. Back at it again for you.
See ya.
See ya. Well.